Ciao, buongiorno e benvenuti a Milano and the Circus Autodromo Nazionale di Monza in the north of Italy. You're listening to myself, Kevin Galvin. I'm joined by Evan Dalton, Roland Hevermans in the background. It's Tuesday evening and it's the third round of the DH Jordan RTA GT4 Cup on Gantry TV. Last week it was Hockenheim und willkommen. This week it's Benvenuti all'Italia for the third round here at this European Open half of the GT4 Cup. So 4 rounds in Europe, 4 rounds in America, and this round brings us to the historic and iconic circuit of Monza. Plenty of talking points as we head into this evening's chat. But Evan, first of all, back to a circuit that I suppose it hosts so many different kinds of racing and one that really suits these GT4 cars.
Yes, thanks, Kevin. Pleasure to be here as always. It is a very famous circuit, as you said, especially for maybe single-seaters, your Formula One. It's hosted every Italian Grand Prix, bar one since 1949. Fabulous, fabulous track, as you said, hosts so many series. I think most of the series in the world like to try come to Monza. Your Ferrari Challenges, different GT4 classes, different GT3 classes, the World Endurance Championship. It's a track that suits all kind of cars. Hopefully suits these GT4s this evening, and I think we could be in for a great night.
Yeah, let's hope so. As we see a spinner there, that was one of the VRA cars spinning off at one of the Lesmos there in the background. But we do look forward to what's set to be a really, really interesting championship set up really nicely, I have to say. Less incidents last week at the Hockenheim ring, but still plenty of talking points. Having a look at the stewards' decisions, and you guys only kind of notified me of this a couple of minutes ago. So just looking at last week, Alex Denning is the name that's missing, and we can't really not talk about it. So we'll address the elephant in the room. 3 penalties within 3 rounds. Alex Denning getting a race ban for Monza. So the real-life GT4 driver who's expected to drive here in the GT4s in the GT4 European Series in September will not be racing with us this evening in RTA. And there's a lot of people on the precipice as well. We had Jamal Gandor with a 15-point deduction last week. Then you have Peter Duke, Aaron, Evan Walsh, Rob Moore, Mark Ivory, Evan again, Dave Maguire, who's our second place in the championship, Dave Prunty, Finlay Melvin, Dylan McClements, and Adam Dowling, all on the naughty step. So it was a busy one for the stewards last week, and it seems, Evan, that the stewards really aren't taking any prisoners this season.
No, very strict, and it's right, I suppose. It's good to iron out the early incidents in the earlier rounds. I think we're only going to get better this week again, incident-wise. I know we talk about incidents a lot, but hopefully less talk of incidents this week. Monza, again, it's a wide enough track. There is some difficult corners. Might be the odd incident in towards turn number 1. But you kind of expect that sort of thing with Monza. You expect a little bit of a pile up in towards the first corner. But a few slaps on the wrists handed out. Hopefully the drivers behave themselves here this evening so we can just get the fabulous racing portion that we got last week.
Yeah, some superb racing last week. Particularly, we saw between our championship leader, Dave Maguire, and indeed Dylan McClements in Heat 2, I think that was, where they were going side by side. But some good racing up and down the grid. And of course, we'll be hoping for the same once we get past the Prima Variante on this historic Monza track. Opened in 1922. And so it's reaching, as a matter of fact, just celebrated its centenary this time 2 years ago, as we see the cars piling out. Look at that, for a cavalcade of Aston Martin Vantage GT4s, all bumping and scraping, trying to get the best possible line. And of course, this is one of those tracks where you're at full speed for so long that the tow could make a massive difference with this open qualifying. So keep an eye on that as we get further on into the session. So built in 2022, the first running of the Italian Grand Prix was in 1950. It was built by 3,500 workers and financed by the Milan Automobile Club. Initially, it was only 3.4 square kilometers with a 10-kilometer track comprising a 4.5 kilometer loop track and a 5.5 kilometer road track. Of course, Ferrari's first ever Grand Prix win in 1951 happening at the circuit, and one of the fastest tracks on the Formula One calendar, average speeds of around 250 kilometers an hour. The GT4s get not that far away, to be honest. They still can get up to over 200 kilometers an hour here on this track. So it's expected to be a really, really, really quick one. And some very heavy braking zones again, Evan. We're talking about the likes of the first chicane, the Prima Variante, the Seconda Variante, of course, which is where we saw some spectacular crashes with the sausage curbs in WEC not so long ago. The two curved Lesmos, banked Lesmo corners give an opportunity as well, and then you have the run down to the Ascari chicane, which is, of course, the site one of my favorite corners in all of motor racing, I have to say. So some really good overtaking opportunities, but really it's all about being heavy on the brakes and as good as you can on exit, because top speed is going to make a massive difference around here.
Yeah, you got to have a strong exit out of some of these corners, because in a Formula 1 car, this circuit's about 84% of full throttle. I'd like to think it's less in a GT4 car, to be honest, because, of course, some corners that might be flat in Formula 1, you might have to lift in a GT4, but you can already see maybe the slipstream shenanigans begin down the main straight. Couple of cars running very close to each other in qualifying in unusual fashion. But that's unfortunately what you got to do if you want to try to get a good lap around Monza. Some folk might work together. Maybe one gives a toe on the opening lap, then another on the second lap. We'll see how it plays out. It's a 15-minute qualifying. It's bound to be one of the more interesting ones potentially this season, as the drivers try to work tactics to get the quickest lap time. But a very interesting last week in Hockenheim. We had two different winners. It was Jordan Kelly and Ronan Doherty, who Kelly winning the first two races and then Doherty taken the third. Ronan Doherty seemed to get up to speed fairly quickly last week, Kevin, so I expect him to be strong again here at Monza.
Yeah, you'd imagine so. As you said, he had only about an hour in the car and still managed to win the final race. Jordan Kelly, of course, picking up where he left off in the opening weekend, or the opening week, should I say. He won Heat 3 at Brands Hatch and then went ahead and won the first two races last week in the Hockenheim Ring. Expect these two guys to be in and around the front. Let's have a quick look while we're talking about at the championship standings, because despite the fact that Alex Denning has won a couple of races, he's way down the order now. You can see only 66 points. That, of course, due to the one of many penalties that he's received over the course of the season thus far. So Dave Maguire leading on 143. Then you have Jordan Kelly on 134 and Dylan McClements on 103. Dylan having a really, really solid run last week, up to the point where he had that unfortunate accident with Alex Denning in the opening corner. To Peter McCann in fourth. Peter, 93 points for Peter, who took umbrage to the fact that I said he was from Mayo. But like, he is living in Mayo. So, you know, it's kind of hard for me not to say that he's a Mayo man when you're living in Mayo. But anyway, I digress. Conor Melia in fifth. He's definitely not from Mayo, I can tell you that much. Ronan Doherty in sixth, then Rory O'Shea, Rob Moore, Alex Mielchin, and Alex Denning. Really, I suppose, like, Dave Maguire having a 9-point lead at the top, which really isn't that much. Jordan Kelly very much in it. And Ronan Doherty, despite the fact that Ronan didn't race in the first week, already finds himself in sixth place. So, as you say, Evan, very well positioned going forward for the rest of the series.
Yeah, and especially with, as you said, sort of a minimal practice. He got fifth in Heat 1 last week, and then it was third, and then it was first. So it was a gradual improvement across the race. I suppose you could say the race weekend, but the race evening. And I expect him to be back up there this evening. He's in second currently, only behind Dave Maguire in qualifying, but that could all change, of course, when you're getting into the swing of things as it stands. Another man who you said was very good last week, and that was Jordan Kelly, first in heat number 1 and 2. Managed to get his first win in a first heat, I suppose you could say, under Gantry TV, under our, I suppose, reign as the broadcasters of the series. But I'm sure he has won in heat 1 before. But great to get off the mark for Jordan. Likes this Monza circuit, as he was saying to us last week, and I expect him to be quick as well across the course of the evening.
Yeah, so do I. Let's actually have a look at Jordan's lap around here at Monza. We said he likes the track, and he could be a contender for the win this evening. So Jordan takes us around the lap of this historic circuit, down the main straight into the Variante del Rettifilo, one of the best overtaking spots. It's tight right, left-hand chicane, heavy braking, multiple downshifts. You know this already. Really, you have to stay on the left-hand side of your braking reference. Brake hard, keeps the car in straight line. Then first or second gear, getting deeper and a little past your AstroTurf. You want to turn in, and then a little squirt in the throttle, back out on the set and apex as you go round the curve, the Grande, a long sweeping right-hand turn that leads onto a straight, easily done flat out in the GT4 cars, but certainly should be interesting when we see traffic. Then when you get into the Variante de Roja, this is turn 4 and 5, slightly different chicane, tight and light right hand, but you need to stay on the right hand for the entry, and then cross all the curbing and stay as far left as you can to get as good an exit as you can now to the Lesmo 1. It's really tight to the inside, very, very heavily banked as you head towards Lesmo 2. Aim for the 50-meter board as braking reference, downshift to third, and then cut across the inside. Don't go out too wide to get yourself the next point. Keep yourself on the track, and you can stay on the AstroTurf as you head down now towards the Ascara chicane. I love this sequence of corners. First left-hander, you want to focus on your braking marker under the bridge here as you go through. Downshift to third gear and look far ahead to try and get the flow. It's all about weight transfer this car, going left and right. Then you want to get as close as possible to the full throttle as you can on exit there, and kind of cut across it over to the far side as you head down to the final curve now, turn 11. 100-meter board on the left-hand side is what you're looking for. You want to catch an early apex here into this corner and hug the inside as much as you can. Slow the car down enough that you can get on the power nice and early, nice and slowly and progressively on the throttle. Good amount of steering angle as you hook it round the inside, and as you unwind the throttle, you're going right across the line. The start-finish line here in iRacing, very early as well here, so not a huge amount of opportunity for people to get a run in the final curve. So you really almost want to get your move done by the exit of the Parabolica if you do want to try and cross the line ahead of somebody else. So if you're leading out of the Parabolica, the high chances are is that you will be leading crossing the start-finish line. So that is a lap, as we saw there, of the Monza circuit. The fastest lap time ever run at this circuit was run by one Rubens Barrichello in his Ferrari F2004. Such an iconic V8 engine, and a 121.046 topping out at 257 kilometers an hour. It's almost 160 miles an hour in old money. And to be honest with you, Evan, these cars won't, these GT4 cars, they can still run up to and around 240 kph. So they do have a very high top speed, if not exactly the top speed of a Formula 1 car.
Yes, they can go really quickly. I'm going to make you feel old for a second, Kevin. That Rubens Barrichello lap happened before I was born, so that's going to make you feel old for the rest of the evening. As you can see, actually, the top speed's up in your timing tower now. I've never seen that before. That is new. As yeah, you can. I think, is that Dave Maguire at 360 kilometers an hour? I'm not sure if my eyesight's gone funny, but I don't think that's possible.
Scope, I think.
G4. As about the 250 mark, that seems to be the real number.
Yeah, 248 I think is pretty much, or 240. Well, yeah, 248 if you're really low on wing. You can get it done. Oh, as we see a bit of a spinner. There's that John McDonald, I think, maybe going out through one of the Lesmos behind Lawrence de Sosva here, who's making his way through the middle part of the track, and he's just a little bit slow here. Is Lawrence keeping to the inside, staying out of people's way who are trying to get their qualifying. But you can see there, everyone trying to absolutely maximize as much as they can. As we look at Wing-Fei Chan now in the 17 car around the final Parabolica, and that won't count. That'll be a 1X. He's gone off the track there, so that won't count for Wing-Fei Chan. Yeah, it's one of those tracks I like. Obviously people talk about Monza turn 1, and sometimes that can put people off racing here, but actually as a track when you're lapping, probably one of the most enjoyable tracks to lap, because really just it's a fun hop lapping track as it is. But then you bring in the likes of trying to overtake through the Parabolica. You have the options of going the switchback. You also have those chicanes that if you're with somebody that you can kind of trust, you can run too wide and try and make it a good battle there. So it's a track that does lend itself to good racing, Evan, despite all the turn 1 antics we often see.
Yeah, it's a great track for racing, really. If you and someone else who you trust going side by side with go side by side, you can have some really good racing. Actually, home to the closest finish in Formula One as well. Peter Getton and Ronnie Peterson, 1971. Getton winning by 0.01. We've had some close finishes in RTA, so that's not necessarily off the cards here for us this evening either. Looking at Peter Dempsey as we speak of close finishes, that's rather ironic, but he's currently up to third place. Maybe wasn't the strongest of showings for Dempsey and Brands Hatch. He's looking to bounce back here this evening, but third in qualifying is a good way to start that. A little bit off Dave Maguire and Jordan Kelly for now, though. It seems like as we head into the third round, Maguire and Kelly, probably two of maybe a few front runners in this championship.
Most certainly, and it's about for them keeping clean and staying. And we often talk about it, but particularly now, you don't just have the fact that you could potentially ruin your race, but you could also end up being in the minus points, which is what I believe Peter Dempsey goes into this round with. I believe Peter goes in with minus points. So that just goes to show you how the penalties can have such a big impact. So he'll have a real point to prove here. Will the former FIA Virtual Motorsports World Cup competitor, representing Ireland, of course, and one of the fastest drivers in Ireland on the sim. But unfortunately, getting himself caught up in a number of instances thus far earlier on this season. We're having a look now at the 26 car. That is Jason Smith, former winner of this championship, and a very, very quick driver nonetheless. Gave Ronan a good old battle there in the Formula Fords, the 1600s. The Ray 1600s and the last season around, but struggling to get up to the pace, even though I know he is running third at the moment, but so far hasn't really been in and around the podium spots in the GT4. So another man who will hope to improve on his times, but it seems that it is Maguire and Kelly. Look at that. We were talking there about 0.001. Well, the gap in qualifying between Maguire and Kelly is 0.006. So there really isn't much between them. We just have to wait and see. Here's Dave Maguire crossing the line. Can he improve in his time? Probably not. He's had a couple of yellow sectors. Can't do so. That's a 157.2, so slightly off the pace. But I wonder, will Jordan Kelly get an opportunity? We see him now. He should do, really. I mean, he has a minute and a half left, and he's coming up to the second chicane. 156. You would suspect, that Jordan will have just about enough time to get across the line and perhaps challenge Dave Maguire here, which should be very, very interesting. Here he is going through the second Lisbon. This is the second time, and is he going to pull out of that one? Jordan Kelly is. I think he's got an off track there, so that means that Dave Maguire, barring any late surges from the back, will start us off in pole.
Ronan Doherty on a good lap as well. He's just gone purple in one of the sectors. He's coming towards the line. I wonder, will it be a last gasp for Ronan Doherty across the line? He says he's done a 56.9. Yes, he does. Takes pole position right at the death. There's only about 20 seconds to go. Doherty was tracking well, had a very good final couple of sectors, and he's managed to go quickest. Dave Maguire in the pit lane has had a pip from him right at the death.
Yeah, that is. Oh, and a little bit of antics there with two of the RA lads in the background, but that's a super lap, and making it stick when it counts. There's Ronan Doherty. I know he's had a bit of a disappointing season with the V's, given the fact that he wasn't able to run in the opening weekend over the St. Patrick's Day bank holiday, but certainly making up for lost time there by putting in a superb lap. I mean, we were talking about 0.006 between Maguire and Kelly. Well, Doherty's just come and blown him in by almost 2/10, so that is an enormous amount in the context of things. And all of a sudden, Ronan Doherty's starting to really stake his place in this championship.
Yeah, a bit of a shock, that one. Right at the end, it seemed like it was all Dave Maguire's, but Ronan Doherty managing to take pole position. But Maguire will still start alongside him. Then it'll be Jordan Kelly and Jason Smith. Congratulations to Jason Smith, of course, who took a win at that Kirkustown weekend that Kevin just mentioned. Peter Dempsey in fifth ahead of Dylan McClements at sixth. Strong again from Dylan. Just kind of comes under our noses and takes a strong qualifying performance. And there's Rob Moore in 7th, ahead of Sean McClements in 8th. Peter McCann will start in 9th, with Rory O'Shea starting in 10th. And it's Evan Walsh in 11th, Lawrence de Soswa in 12th. Lawrence quite strong last week in the first and second heats. Unfortunately, had a bit of misfortune in the last one and wasn't able to take part. And it's Ryan Ware, ahead of Brian McManus. Then it is Sean McGoldrick, Alexander Mielchen. Then it is Peter Duke, Wingfei Chan, Dermot Toomey. And then it is Stephen O'Keefe, and it is Mohammed Osba. And then it is Adam Dowling ahead of Dave Collier and Simran Takir. It's a big grid here at Monza, Kevin, but it should be a good first heat.
Yeah, should be a good one. An interesting, obviously, rolling start for this one. But the fact that the line, again, I know I talk about it a lot, but it's unusual that the line normally in Monza, that you'd expect the start-finish line to be almost towards the end of the pit box in the way that we see in F1, because obviously they have a standing start. But here we have it kind of back towards the beginning of the straight, which means that some of those further back will almost be starting their race on the curve, which sometimes we can see with the likes of Le Mans and tracks like that, but something that we don't often see in this series. So this would be a little bit tricky for some of these guys going through the parabolic, and we talk about needing to apply the throttle early. The temptation will be to just pin it. Obviously, cold tires, you still do have kind of the parabolic is one of those corners where you actually are putting more strain on the tires than you think you are. So be interested to see how many of those guys survive. Talking as well, you were saying about Lawrence and Evan there. Evan obviously could potentially find himself with a race ban if he's involved in any more incidents. Today. He was involved in 2 last week at Hockenheimring, so the Clonmel man has to be on his best behaviour, but alongside Lawrence de Soswa, who's a very, very clean racer, you would hope that those guys will get through everything very clear. But really, Evan, as we kind of head towards the final corner, it's about how do all of these cars in your screen in front of you get through the first corner unscathed.
Yes, it's a very, very tight chicane of turn number 1 and 2, but it's about a 638-metre run from that start-finish line to the first corner, so you'd like to think they can all sort themselves out. The safety car peels off, and we go racing for the first heat here in Monza. Great start from Doherty, gets the jump. Jordan Kelly as well with a good start, as Dave Maguire already dropping down the grid in that pink Aston Martin. Now we're across the official start-finish line, and we are technically going. Jordan Kelly has got an unbelievable run down into the first corner, already making up spaces and already into the race lead. Dylan McClements up to third. They break for the first corner. 2 by 2 they go. It's Doherty and Kelly side by side. As you can see there, a bit of a nudge between the two, but all clean. Oh, there's a car gone round further back, and this is the car park we unfortunately predicted. I think Finley Melvin may be involved in that one as well. That is Peter Dempsey who's gone round.
Sean McClements as well.
Exactly not what he wanted.
Sean McClements involved in it. Let's see who else is involved in it. We'll have to go to our timing, but unfortunately we talked about Peter Dempsey trying to make a point to prove. No such luck, and of course such high stakes in this opening race. So let's have a look at the big losers in that. Peter McCann losing out big time in that. He's now down 12 places. Rob Moore losing out big time in that. He's down 17. Jason Smith and Peter Dempsey both down 22 places. So huge losers there. So Peter managing to get himself back up to 19th for the moment. Sean McClements down 14 places as well. So Peter down 10, Sean down 14, Rob Moore down 17, and Jason Smith and Peter Dempsey both down 22 places. Let's have a look.
Yeah, there's some big winners and losers in this first opening lap collision. Let's have a look at it. You can see Jason Smith looking to make some moves. Dave Maguire's planted it on the inside. So let's just have a look here and see.
That's Dempsey on Smith. Clumsy. And having only just, look, it's hard to know really whether Jason closed the door without seeing it from behind, but I don't know, when you return back to a series, you'd imagine you do everything in your power just to stay out of trouble. But unfortunately for Peter, whether rightly or wrongly, already involved in that incident. Same for Jason Smith, already involved immediately. Jason obviously involved in an incident in Hockenheimring as well at the hairpin there. So really unfortunate. But what it means is that now there was quite a bit of a gap now between the top 3 or 4 and the rest of the field. Let's see, that if you go down from Dave Maguire in 4th to Lawrence de Soswa in 5th, that's almost a 4-second gap. So a massive gap there for the top 4 to try and get away from the rest of the pack. And of course, Evan, this is going to have a lasting effect, because the finishers, if you haven't seen us before or you haven't seen RTA before, then very much welcome to you. But the format is that the finish of the result in race one sets the grid for race two, and then race two, the top eight swap. So it really the heat one does define the rest of your evening.
It does. And Monza is not necessarily an easy track to cut through the pack in. It's not like it is open freeway to go 5 or 6 wide. It's a difficult enough circuit, so there could be some big implications for some drivers' evenings. A little bit further back, this is Jason Smith seeking on that endeavour of cutting back through the field, as it does seem like there's a bit of a swap up front. No, that's probably just timing tower issues for now. But it's Kelly who leads Doherty, who leads McClements. Dylan McClements once again back up on the podium, Kevin. Got third last week, and 2 of the 3 currently in the top 3 in the order they were last week. We're just missing Dave Maguire, who's down to 4th. This is Wing Fei Chan we're looking at. He's in a fight with Adam Dowling and Harry McGovern.
Yeah, McGovern Adam Dowling all over the back of Wing Fei Chan, but keeping it clean at the moment. As Wing Fei, in these situations, you really have to just try and do the best you can to focus on what's in front of you and try not to worry too much, as easy as it sounds. You need to obviously flick your eyes into the mirror to make sure that nobody's trying anything too risky. But apart from that, you can't try and drive in your mirrors. You have to try and keep your eyes forward and trust in your own ability, trust in your own pace. As you can see now, that gap represented, that's very much laid out there between the top 4 and everybody else. And I've made the analogy before, but I'll make it again, very similar to like a breakaway pack in a Tour de France stage, when you see the breakaway pack and then you can kind of see the peloton in the background. But unlike in the Tour de France, it's not a case of the peloton keeping its energy and catching itself back up. There's no way that these guys win, especially when they're battling each other like you see between Milchin and McGoldrick, that they can make up the time on the top 4. So really good opportunity for these top 4 to potentially work together, get a good strong result in Heat 1, take it into Heat 2, and then see what happens. But here is Sean McGoldrick and Alexander Milchin. Milchin was a little bit more involved in race and the opening round than we saw last week. Wasn't running up the front quite as much, but still in a great battle here with Sean McGoldrick.
Yeah, thankfully for myself and Kevin, this isn't a 4.5 hour, 5 hour race, as we see Peter McCann diving up the inside. That's job done for Peter. Nice move there. Or no, sorry, that's actually Peter been overtaken by Jason Smith. Apologies. That is Jason Smith now ahead of Peter McCann. He's now handing down Colin Carrigan. That's McCann running wide in the background. That's Jason Smith now diving down the inside. It's very messy in the mid-pack for the time being, as Smith now up into that's 18th place. Yes, it is for Jason Smith. So he's slowly working his way back up, Kevin. Plenty of work still to do if he wants to reach these top guys, but going about it the right way, I think.
Yeah, I don't know how pleased Colin Carrigan will be in that. There was a little touch in the backside, which obviously unsettled Colin through the second Lesmo, which allowed Jason to get ahead of him. So a little bit of a NASCAR move there from Jason Smith. So it will be interesting to see whether the stewards decide to look at that. They obviously are very, very strict this season, and as we said earlier, so they should be, to try and cut out any nonsense. We're going down into the opening chicane, and Ronan Doherty just making sure that Jordan Kelly knows he's there. The two of these guys, we've heard them before that they do like to work together, at least up until the final lap. So expect to see that again as they try and pull away from Dylan McClements. There is a gap there forming already as Lawrence de Soswa continues his battle with Ryan Ware for 5th position, and LD in a very, very strong position. Started off he's in 5th now. He started off in 12th, up 7 places. So a great running for the Kerryman exiled in Ballincollig.
Yeah, really strong from Lawrence de Soswa. Got his best result of the season so far last week in Heat 2, picked up 7th place. This would be an excellent result for Lawrence, and it would put him in a great spot for the second heat maybe as well, as we see. Oh, was that a bit of an off for Peter McCann? Looked like he was coming back on the track, as oh, he is slow actually here, so maybe some problems. Oh, we have a replay to show you. Let's see what happened to Peter here at turn number 1. Is this going to be maybe with a contact with someone? That's McCann, the furthest most car that you can see, in towards the first corner. Oh, he was tapped around. He was tapped around there. Oh,
that's John McDonald blinking, I think, in the background in the Potato Nation car. So unfortunately, Peter couldn't really do much about that. He he was on a line. The guy behind him blinked and then blinked back in, and this is an issue we've talked about before, and it can come with reprimands for those who continue to run with kind of blinking internet, because it does put everybody else under pressure. So yeah, it's not ideal. Certainly not anything that anybody wants, but really you need to be able to be kind of stable enough for people to be able to race alongside you. Now that battle for fifth, we talked about it in the last lap. Now Ryan Ware is making his move on Lawrence de Soswa, and these guys will go too wide heading into the opening chicane. Looks like Ryan has the edge on Lawrence, and Lawrence is going to have to tuck in here. He won't be able to fight it, and does so. Unfortunately for Lawrence, gets slightly caught between two minds, doesn't quite fight it, but also doesn't tuck in tight enough, and that opens the door now for Rory O'Shea to have a go down the Curva Grande. And here is Evan Walsh as well, sneaking in the background, seeing if he can get something done in the Rettifidio chicane. Let's have a look here. The 34 and 9 cars going side by side again. Here's Roy O'Shea in the high pre number. Can he make it stick against Lawrence de Soswa? Lawrence taking a very, very wide line. I think afraid that he was going to get taken out there. Ended up cutting across the chicane and now leaving off. And he's going to leave these guys go by. But unfortunately, that also opens the door for Sean McGoldrick to come in. So we see now a battle of Munster, Kerry versus Tipperary, as Lawrence de Soswa takes on Evan Walsh. But Lawrence holding on to his lead. Sean McGoldrick nipping in ahead of Evan in the 20 car. And after all that, it's Ryan Ware in fifth now, Rory O'Shea in sixth, Lawrence in seventh, and Sean McGoldrick McGoldrick in eighth, and Evan in ninth.
It's not a lap necessarily to remember for Lawrence. He was lost a few positions there, and disappointing, but still seventh, a strong result. Can make up places maybe in the second heat if he's able to keep that position. But this is Walsh on the back of McGoldrick, still looking to try take that 8th place. If this was the second heat, of course, he'd be battling for pole position, but it's not, so he's just battling for 8th place. Pointless information for you at home. He's got Alexander Milchin right behind him, so he's got to be careful not to maybe lose too much pace. But I believe, Kevin, we are coming up just about to the final lap of the race.
Coming up to the final lap, and thanks to TH Jordan for their continued sponsorship of the series. TH Jordan, a absolutely superb printing company, established in 1896, so way older than the Monza track when you think about it that way. They've done design, printed, finishing with both conventional litho and digital print technology, and there's lovely kind of heritage to printed textiles in that part of the world. TH Jordan continuing the tradition all these many years later. And as well, thanks to the Sim Consultants, just a quick shout for them helping us out with the broadcast this year, and some really exciting news if you go to their Instagram about their new partnership. So keep an eye out for that on their Instagram page, the Sim Consultants. We go back to the front, and Ronan Doherty still leading from Jordan Kelly. We talked, Evan, about how these guys like to work together, but occasionally on the last lap they like to mount a challenge. But I suspect, given the fact that these guys will grid up as they stand for Heat 2, the door is open now for both Jordan Kelly and Ronan Doherty to have a really, really good week of it.
Yes, it is. And here coming through the final couple of corners, they're battling for points as well. Points very crucial at this stage of the season. You want to get a nice lead maybe coming in towards the final corner. My screen's just frozen. Voice,
Not the same as mine, unfortunately. We can't. We were waiting for pictures. I think the TV the satellite connection has broken down on our end here, so we're waiting to see what happens as these approach the final corner. So it is Ronan leading from Evan Walsh as we look to cross the line here, and it looks like Evan will have the run. Ronan will have the run here, Evan.
Yes, here he goes. Ronan Doherty just about ahead and will take the Heat 1 win. Well done to Ronan Doherty. Oh, bit of nudging in the background between McClements and Maguire. Oh, my goodness me, Maguire almost sending McClements off the circuit. But, now there is a bit of chaos. Ryan Ware comes across the line to take 5th, and it's O'Shea ahead of McGoldrick, ahead of Walsh, ahead of Milchin, and then Stephen O'Keefe coming home with a strong 10th. So 0.1 at the line goes to show how close Monza can be.
Yeah, super, super close. Just 1/10 of a second between those two, albeit that I don't think they massively battled in the end. Look, Rob Moore now coming in behind Brian McManus, and everyone just make sure that Brian, at least he finished every lap this time, in fairness to him. I'd like to go back and look as we watched Peter Dempsey cross the line just behind Tony Stack in the very lovely painted Milka car. What happened between Dave Maguire and Dylan McClements to lead up that instant? Because Maguire obviously had afters with Dylan McClements after the race. So I would be very interested to see how that all panned out. Let's have a look at the instant replay there as we look at Maguire coming round. This is this is actually in the Lesmos. So Maguire, a bit of a gap between those two as they were going through the Lesmos, and obviously we have a small bit of time to have a look at this before we get to Heat 2, and I'll hand you over to Evan to take us off the line there. Maguire coming down now, and this is going into the Ascari chicane. But there were afters, Evan, after the line, so it will be interesting to see what happened here.
Yeah, there's a bit of, I suppose, the motorsport version of fisticuffs after the line. There's nothing obscure so far, but I think it could be a little bit later down the track. Maguire tucks into the slip. Oh no, that's a weird one, Kevin. It didn't seem like they were even really close enough to cause anything. Maybe if Dylan has a strong race here, we might be able to hear from him in the interview room and see what he takes from that. But yeah, Dave, hopefully he hasn't let whatever happened get to his head too much, and he can still have a solid race here in Heat 2.
Yeah, and those two guys, obviously, there's history there from last week. Thanks to Ronan in the background for reminding us. Yes, of course, these two coming together in the Hockenheim ring. But yeah, I won't say much more than that. Only we see what stewards have to say about it, and we're looking forward to what should be a really interesting second race, Evan. Kind of, it's a funny one. They're 2-minute laps, so quite long laps when you talk about a 10-minute race. Now we have obviously a longer with the 15-minute race. Will give the guys a bit more of an opportunity who have a run in earlier on to, I suppose, make back the time. But really, for everybody, again, it is that opening chicane. And if I was in it, I'd be doing everything I possibly can to just stay out of contact. By all means possible, just avoid contact.
Yeah, just keep yourself clean. We saw what happened to Lawrence de Soswa when he kept himself clean in the last heat. Snuck himself through, got him into a very good position, and took home some good points. So if you can get through it successfully, you are in a very good position. I think that's hopefully going to be the lesson learned maybe from Heat 1, and it might be a little bit more timid in towards the first couple of corners. But Doherty and Kelly side by side again. Jordan definitely got the jump the last time around, Kevin.
Yeah, Jordan getting a great jump, so it'll be interesting to see because Dave Maguire was left slightly behind last time around. Ronan and Jordan obviously spend a lot of time racing together. We talked about it before, so it will be interesting to see how this all comes about. And of course, that battle between Dylan McClements and Dave Maguire, I really hope, Evan, that these two guys don't let it get to their head what happened in the last race, and that we don't see contact between the two of them, because contact up front inevitably affects everybody that comes in behind it, particularly the likes of Ryan Ware and Rory O'Shea, who are immediately behind the pair. So we'll see how it all pans out, Evan, as we go into race 2.
Yep, we head for the Parabolica to start heat number 2. The safety car is into the pit lane. It's a long hold from the front too, and now we go racing for the second race of the evening. It's a great launch from Ronan Doherty to keep ahead of Jordan Kelly, and now you can see Dylan McClements tucking into the slipstream of goes him down towards the first couple of corners. Maguire going for the outside of Kelly. Kelly acting as a bit of an arbitrator in between McClements and Maguire into the first corner. Little bit of a nudge for Ryan Ware, but it seems a lot cleaner this time round. Yes, that's much better from our stellar RTA grid to get through the first couple of corners. Simran Takir, apologies, looking to make a move on Harry McGovern, and McGovern looking to get past Wingfei Chan in towards the second chicane. But seems like we've got at least 90% of the grid through that first difficult section, Kevin.
Yeah, pretty much. Jamal Gondor was the only one I could see in the 961 car having issues there, but really good stuff from Dylan McClements to get himself into third position, as that's a bit of an interesting line there by Stephen O'Keefe. as he puts pressure on Alex Milchin. He's going to get that move done as we head into the first. Lesmo is going to have the inside for the second one of these corners as well. Very heavily banked, as you can see now, 3 wide. It's all very tight and twisty here between these three. Stephen runs wide, and he's going to have to give that position up. So that allows now Wing Fei Chan in there. Look at this gaggle of cars that are coming down there. So you've Stephen O'Keefe from Wing Fei Chan, then Alex Milchin, then Harry McGovern, then Adam Dowling, Jason Smith there in the background, followed by Simon Hutchinson, Tacker, and Brian McManus down the back of that group. So everything from essentially 7th down to 18th, pretty much within a camera lens here as we pour down the Ascari chicane and towards the Parabolica. But up front, Ronan Doherty leading at a half a second gap now between him and Jordan Kelly. Will this be an opportunity for Ronan to pull away, as Dylan will most likely keep the pressure on?
Yeah, he's got a lot of hard work ahead if you want to try pull away at Monza because of the slipstream effect, but these guys are going to be slipstreaming down towards the first corner. There is Ronan Doherty being slowly closed in by Jordan behind. You can see Ryan Ware was being closed in by Sean McGoldrick down into the first corner. Now let's see how brave this top 4 are. No one goes for the move. McGoldrick goes for it in the background though on Ryan Ware, and he's on the inside. Inside becomes outside, but a good exit can still be found for McGoldrick. Bit of a nudge between the two, as here is the mad mid pack of led by Stephen O'Keefe and Alexander Milchin, and you can see just how good an exit that Stephen O'Keefe has got on Milchin, but Milchin quite crucially will have the inside for the right-hander of the Curva Grande. The 84 just inching ahead for the time being. Jason Smith following suit and trying to get the job done. Jason Smith was almost shoved into the wall again on the opening lap, and that would have been his streak of bad luck continuing. These two still too wide for the time being, and Stephen O'Keefe gets ahead. He's kept the car in there. That's great racing between the pair, but he's not got the best of exits, and that's going to allow Alexander back up the inside here. Can Jason Smith maybe be opportunistic and look for a move on the inside? O'Keefe now to the outside of Lesmo number 1. Still too wide here, heading in towards Lesmo number 2. Now finally Milchin gets ahead, and Smith gets ahead as well.
Yeah, superb stuff. Absolutely incredible stuff from both the pack at the front and indeed the pack behind. Look at them, they go 2 by 2. It's like Noah's Ark as they go through the opening chicane and then carry that all the way through the rest of the lap. Eventually, it is Stephen O'Keefe who gets or Jason Smith, should I say, along with Alex Milchin, getting the best of that contest. But superb stuff as we go 3 wide now, almost down into the Parabolica. I think we are 3 wide. Going down into the Parabolica, David Maguire just nicking ahead. So very good exit from Maguire in the number 6 BWP car, but he does go deep into the Parabolica. He'll be on the outside now on that AstroTurf. Even though it's dry, can still be very slippy as he tries to recover. I think Dylan McClemens is going to slot himself in here and just sees what happens, because Dylan is in an opportunity. He's actually pushing Jordan Kelly, so he's giving Jordan Kelly a bit of a bump draft and leaving David Maguire out on his own. Take that, Maguire, says McClemens as he pushes Kelly back to the lead.
Yeah, Jordan Kelly stays in the lead. Dave Maguire now side by side with Dylan McClemens, and they've both made contact, and Dylan McClemens is left stranded. He's got his car recovered really quickly and will manage to just slot in behind Sean McGoldrick, but that is going to just add fuel to an already very bright fire between Dylan McClemens and Dave Maguire. McClemens I think he tapped Maguire, and then Maguire just kind of tapped him back. Not necessarily his own fault. We'll see if we have another replay.
Yeah, I just looking at it first time round, I was thinking that Maguire took a very, very tight line, considering that McClemens was next to him. But we shall have a look at it again. I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are on this, Evan, because my initial feeling was that Dave Maguire kind of took a very, very tight line.
Let's have a look in towards the first corner. Oh, he does kind of close him off a little bit. I wonder if maybe even on board Dave Maguire, would that be able to tell us a little bit more? I'm not sure if that's possible, folks. Sorry, my iRacing knowledge is still not ideal. But here we go. Then this is another replay. Ah, yes, we do. Ronan Hedeman did an absolute excellent job behind the scenes as always to put up with our needy requests. In towards the first corner, then you can see. Oh, yeah, you're right there, Kevin. I think it was a bit of a tight line. I'm not sure whether one just goes or whether Dave didn't really lose space there.
It's hard. We leave it up to the stewards. They know a lot more than we do. But even when you looked at where the car was placed going into the corner, it was kind of wasn't really on the outside. It was kind of hovering maybe 3/4 to the outside, and then on a chicane like this, really for both cars to fit through, both have to be willing to kind of take the extremes of the track, and kind of put up with the fact that they're going to be slower because they want to try and race each other. But anyway, we will leave it up to the RTA stewards on that one. Now, Dylan McClemens being under serious pressure from Ryan Ware after that, because that gap was formed between himself and Sean McGoldrick, but Dylan just having enough to get back to the outside and then holding off Ware in 6th position. So after all that, now Jordan Kelly has a 1.7 second advantage on Ronan Doherty. Dave Maguire in 3rd, another 7/10 of a second, and Sean McGoldrick behind him. So you can see the gaps starting to form as we talk about the kind of slipstream. It has such a big effect. That 1.7 second gap for Jordan over Ronan is absolutely enormous, and barring a mistake from Jordan, it's very hard to look past him for the race 2 win.
Yeah, but the odd time we've seen from Jordan, maybe that mistake happened, but I'm not so sure that'll happen this evening. He's been solid once he gets to the front in these GT4 cars. This is Ware and McClemens trying to make amends from that spin that we watched at turn number 1. He's now on the outside through Lesmo number 2. Evan Walsh now maybe trying to just give a bit of a bump draft to Ryan Ware in the 616 down towards the Varante Ascari of turn number 7. McClemens has the inside line. It'll be Ware on the outside, and then Walsh and O'Shea side by side just behind these. So McClemens dives down the inside. That's a great move from Dylan McClemens. Way braver on the brakes and gets the job done. Now Ryan Ware under pressure from Evan Walsh right behind in towards the right hander. Evan Walsh has had a good evening so far. He'd like to continue this strong form. We're getting up to 6th place, but for now just seems a little bit too far behind, but a turn 1 move might be on the cards.
I absolutely love that shot. Like, I know the Euro NASCAR does run at Monza, but I don't know if they run too wide, both bump drafting. It was like NASCAR, 2 lanes of 2 drivers bump drafting each other down the main straight, or not the main straight, but the back straight there towards the Ascari chicane, and all 4 of them coming out of it unscathed. And once again, those 2 twosomes teaming up together, and you can see Evan giving Rory again a push as he goes down the inside of Dylan McClemens, and Rory just having nowhere to go, really just pinned on the inside and having to make the most of it because he was afraid that he might end up catching out Ryan Ware. But Ryan quite cleverly just holding off the brakes a little bit, as we see a very slow spin from Simran Takar tagging Adam Dowling there, and Adam now reversing back onto the racing line and causing an enormous accident. Oh, that's not great from Adam Dowling. You really, if you're stuck in that position, the best thing you can do is just do nothing and allow the cars to go around you. But Adam reversing back onto the racing line and really giving those arriving on the scene of an accident that they never knew was going to happen absolutely no chance, Evan.
That'll be a big penalty. That will be a big penalty, unfortunately. You can't do that on a live racetrack, pull back onto the racing line. I think thankfully a good few avoided it, which is good for those races. We see Sean McClemens up to 16th position ahead of Dave Collier. Sean McClemens not someone we usually see down in 16th, but it seems like he's just been caught up in the shenanigans of the evening maybe. This is Brian McManus looking for a move on Simon Hutchings, maybe in towards the Varante Ascari. You can see there in the British Petroleum livery, the cast oil livery as well. Not able to make the move. But yeah, Adam Dowling, look, there's not really an excuse for that I can find. Anyways, I'm not sure your take on it, Kevin, but
no, and to be fair, knowing Adam, I know he'll put his hand up and admit fault there, to be fair to him. And I think even you could see by the language of the car after the incident, it looked very sheepish. So it looked like he knew he had made a mistake. So unfortunately, these things happen. People do make mistakes, and you just got to take a penalty and move on. Dylan McClemens is a man who will certainly be keeping an eye on the stewards' decisions. Was caught up in that incident with Dave Maguire, multiple incidents with Dave Maguire, both during and after races this evening, as he tries to fend off Rory O'Shea. He does have the inside line here. O'Shea trying to come back, but really in that position, Dylan is just able to sit himself on the racing line. And a little pass and block there move as, that's Simon Hutchins going into the back of Brian McManus, who made a mistake on that one. Brian going very slow into the chicane and really giving Simon Hutchins no opportunity to try and get out of the way. So unfortunately, losing out there as we see these gaggle of cars. Lawrence de Soswa now making his way from 21st into 28th, as that's a car going slightly wide there. So that's Stephen Donnelly, I'm not sure, being pushed back down the order. But Lawrence, unfortunate one for him. He's caught up in some of those incidents and finds himself in P20. But for Jordan Kelly, the gap now is 2.5 seconds, and he really has profited from this race. He's started out in front, and we thought himself and Ronan might work together, but obviously incidents holding up Ronan in the background. So it looks like first and second is not entirely tied up, but fairly well tied up. Then you have Dave Maguire leads fairly comfortable from Sean McGoldrick. But then look at this battle for sixth and seventh and eighth, even. You know, that all those four guys heading back from fifth backwards, having very, very close. So the top five still very much up for grabs, but it seems like our race winner has fairly well been decided as Peter Dempsey. Just needs a little bit in there to make sure that he can get the move done, and Brian McManus through the Ascari chicane. And Peter, having had an atrocious start to the night, finds himself almost battling for a top 10 finish in the second race. So good work from him.
Yeah, up 13 spots is Peter Dempsey, and credit where credit's due. He has worked them through nicely, been nice and clean. It's a lot better of a performance for Peter Dempsey. This is another man who's up a lot of positions. This is Rob Moore looking to try break into the top 10. He's up 10 spots, but still has Harry McGovern parked in front of him, and he is just looking maybe to break closer to that reverse grid for this evening's final heat. 3 minutes to go here in this second one of the evening, and you can see Rob Moore opting for the outside line in towards the first corner, and it is Harry McGovern who breaks the later of the two in towards the first section, although Simon Hutchings breaking the latest of the three, now right on the back of Rob Moore. This could be a tasty old scrap to the end of the race. Jason Smith as well, almost on the reverse grid. He is 3 seconds behind Evan Walsh. Evan Walsh seems to be the man favourite for the pole, however, for heat number 3.
Yeah, Evan in a prime position really for pole position. You can see him there now, unless he just makes a move on Ryan, where it's actually an interesting thought process. Do you go for that move now, knowing that every single pushes you further back from the front of the grid in the second race, or do you kind of hold stum and are you happy enough where you are? I suppose you have to try and make, as many possible places as you can while they're on the table. So for Evan, I know he won't be holding off, but you do have the potential of getting a good start in Heat 3 if you kind of play your cards right. So there's a lot more to lose in Heat 3 for the likes of Evan than there is for the cars in front of him. Look at this tasty scrap and it's turning into a tasty morsel here as a move from Harry McGovern down the inside, and he blocks off Rob Moore, and that causes an accordion effect which pushes Rob Moore off. Now Simon Hutchings is involved, but that also invites Peter Dempsey and Brian McManus into the fold. So what was a 3-way scrap is now a 5-way scrap, with the most aggrieved party right at the back. So it should be very interesting to see how this works out as Peter just attempts to try and bump draft Harry into the final corner.
Yeah, Peter Dempsey just kind of stays back. Then in the end, he's going to let these two dice it out at the front and try slipstream them down towards the first corners. You can see Dempsey getting a way better exit of the three. Brian McManus tucking into the slipstream as well. This could get sketchy down towards the first corner as they're now about to go 3 wide, potentially 4 wide. It seems like that is Harry McGovern just Simon Hutchings staying to his own on the outside, and Dempsey and McGovern going for it on the inside line. It's McGovern ahead of Dempsey, ahead of Hutchings, and it's going to be Brian McManus who tucks in behind, trying to go the long way around the outside. It's adventurous, doesn't quite work out for the time being. Dempsey gets a spot nonetheless, but wasn't able to get past Harry McGovern. I'd like to think that'll be his goal down towards this chicane here, but we're looking at Dylan McClements now, currently in 6th position, right on the back of Rory O'Shea.
Yeah, some serious scraps going on here, and when I saw those cars moving left and right, jostling for position, I kind of had my teeth clenched. I'm not going to lie to you, Evan, but they're getting through that. They've gotten through the Retrofilio chicane fairly well. Rob Moore now has overtaken Brian McManus in that pack, so he's gotten back a place, but he'll still be feeling a little bit aggrieved about the Ascari incident, although I suppose once you have position on track, it is yours to keep, despite what F1 tells you and their penalties in the Australian Grand Prix. Harry McGovern leading from Peter Dempsey, and then you have Simon Hutchings, Rob Moore and Brian McManus all in this fight, and of course we're just after ticking over the 15-minute mark, so we're on the final lap, and Jordan Kelly in the number 2 car. A superb display from Jordan in this one, and he will round the corner to take the win in heat number 2, Evan.
Yes, here comes Jordan Kelly, a stellar drive from Jordan. It's going to be a 4th win of the season for Jordan Kelly. That's phenomenal for him, and he gets the job done across the line ahead of Ronan Doherty. Same 1-2 from the last time, but swapped around. This is this battle then for 5th position. It'll be O'Shea home ahead of McClements. It'll be Ryan Ware and Evan Walsh. Ryan Ware was looking forward to this week. I'm sure he's loving it even more now, as there's a side-by-side in the background. This is Rob Moore and Brian McManus for some of the minor placings across the line. You can see it'll be McGovern ahead of Dempsey, ahead of Hutchings, ahead of McManus, ahead of Moore. That was a dangerous scrap coming through the final laps, but a clean one nonetheless. This is Jamal Gandor, the new face of TikTok. We're all enjoying some of his live streams during the week. He is going to come home in 21st place, just behind Dermot Toomey, narrowly missing out. Or sorry, no, just narrowly beating David Prunty, I should say.
Yeah, and as we see the rest of them pouring across the line here, it's Lawrence Stoswa there in the background, Philip Upson finishing just behind Aaron Dalton and Rich Murphy, Jack Conaghy and Wingfei Chan having a very bad race for himself, finishing all the way down in 36th, obviously caught up in a number of instances across the race. We'll obviously hopefully speak to some of the drivers. We certainly have the top two. I'd like to speak to third place, although I am doubtful as to whether he'll come into the interview room, but I would love to speak to him, Dave McGuire. But I suppose we'll have a chat with our race winner from race number 2, Jordan Kelly, first. Jordan, look, you've been kind of getting good momentum here. I know we talked to you about the Formula Fords and the rough start you had there, but won the final race in the opening weekend, 2 wins last week, and obviously a lot of moving and shaking with Stewart's decisions. But for now, and from yourself, like this race 2, when all else was crumbling behind you, you just kind of kept the pedal to the metal and carved out quite a comfortable lead for yourself in the end.
Yeah, me and Ronan made a few mistakes in one of the laps, and it made everybody grip up and kind of caused a bit of a grip of cars, and a few things happened. So and then I just lucky to get the bit of a break from the toe and stuff. So I think I have a bit of piss around here with the toe. So it was good to get the gap and try and just manage it then.
Yeah, to be fair to you, you said you do like this circuit, and you were kind of proving it to us. What is it about Monza that you particularly like? Is it just somewhere where you've had a lot of time, or what is it that you enjoy about driving around here?
Well, if you ask anybody else, they'd say I like the corners and bridges at it, but suppose that's part of it too. But no, it's a very track you like have to be on the limit with like slowdowns and stuff and off tracks, because if you millimeters in certain corners make crazy time around here. So it seems to be working out so far. So hopefully I'll keep the nose clean in the next race.
100%, and we'll get Ronan Doherty in, who was the man who just behind you in race number 2 in there now. I was going to say Jimmy Kelly because it's one of Jimmy's, but obviously not Jimmy. Jordan Kelly, nice, a good start, and keep the momentum going.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, that was not Jimmy, but Jordan Kelly. And here we have Ronan Doherty, definitely Ronan Doherty, joined by Evan Dalton.
Yeah, Robert Doherty. Oh, no, sorry, Ronan Doherty. Ronan, congratulations on the first heat race win and then second in heat number 2. Is it safe to say you're finally used to the GT4 car?
Yeah, I'm getting used to it. To be honest, I wasn't really driving that well in the races. Like, I have an idea what to change. Like, I'm just biting into the ABS way too much, messing up, pretty much making a mistake every lap. But I am getting used to it. Yeah, it's good fun, and just gonna try and keep up with Jimmy in the next race.
We've seen a few incidents at turn number 1. Yourself and Jordan have got through it both times cleanly. Is that just because you're both at the front, or is it still a difficult corner to, I suppose, avoid the carnage at?
It is really difficult just the way it tightens and the change of direction, but me and Jordan both have faith in each other when we're racing, like, and know when to back out and when to not. So to be honest with you, like, sometimes you can go in and do everything right, and someone else can just have a bit of a brain fade or make a mistake, and it's you're really putting your fate in the balance. You know, sometimes going through that corner side by side.
And then Heat 3, of course, reverse grid. Is it going to be difficult to maybe cut through the pack here tonight, or are you looking forward to the challenge, I suppose?
Yeah, I'm going to assume the first lap there's going to be a couple of cars off, so hopefully I'm not involved in that. Usually I'm quite good in traffic, so we'll see how it goes. You know, it's a reverse grid, anything can happen, and all you've got to do is just keep your head down, stay clean of incidents, and take advantage of others.
Well, Ronan, I'm going to let you go, get back and get ready for heat number 3. Thank you very much for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck.
Here's Ian.
Let's come back to haunt us, Kevin.
Yeah. Ian, I'm going to call you Ian Dalton
Mm.
for the entirety of the next race. I'm actually quite looking forward to that. We can just
I'm
do
going to
that
call
now.
you Jack Canan.
Jack. Oh, Jack and that's definitely not Jack and Ann's voice, but so yeah, kind of an interesting look into it from those two guys. Obviously they're very confident and comfortable with each other, but that doesn't necessarily always mean that everybody is as confident and comfortable with each other as they are. So it really is a case of sorry, it's a small bit of a mic issue there. It really is a case of trying to just have as much trust as you can, but I suppose if you keep battling with the same guy and you keep taking each other out, then it's kind of hard to have that confidence, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. There's been a few too many incidents maybe this evening. It might just be the nature of Monza, but look, I'd like to think we can all look past the previous incidents and have a very good heat number 3. We had some fantastic battles in Hockenheim last week. We've had some great battles here in Monza, but usually we have one really good race an evening, and I think we're tipped for that in race number 3. Here is your grid for that race. Of course, it's Evan Walsh who will start at the front. Didn't manage to get past Ryan Ware, whether he liked it or not. I think Ryan Ware just had the pace over him. Then it'll be Ryan Ware in second, of course, ahead of Dylan McClements in third and Rory O'Shea in fourth. I wonder, can this maybe be the day Dylan wins here in RTA? He didn't manage to quite win last season in the single-seaters. It's a very good grid position, and he seems to have good pace. It could be McClements' evening, potentially. Then it's Rory O'Shea in the high pre, behind in fourth. Sean McGoldrick in fifth, ahead of David Maguire in sixth. And then it is the two we spoke to, Ronan Doherty and Jordan Kelly, seventh and eighth. Jason Smith up to ninth, worked his way back efficiently and has a good starting position here for the final heat. Then it's Peter Dempsey in 10th for Turn 3 Motorsport. Head Simon Hutchings in 11th and Brian McManus starting in 12th position. Then we look a little bit further down. It's Rob Moore in 13th, Alexander Milchin in Rob Moore in 13th, apologies, Alexander Milchin in 14th, then Simran Takir in 15th, Sean McClements in 16th, and it's Peter Duke, Peter McCann, Dermot Toomey, Jamal Gandor, David Prunty, Dave Collier, ahead of Mohammed Osba and Stephen Donnelly in 24th position. Then just a quick run through the bottom. It is John McDonald, Colin Carrigan, Tony Stack, Lawrence de Soswa, Enda Farrell, Colin O'Regan, Aaron Dalton, Philip Upson. Then it is Rich Murphy, Harry McGovern, Jack Kanaki. Then it is Wing Fei Chan, Adam Dowling, Stephen O'Keefe, and Finlay Melvin. And I think just quickly, before we get started in Heat 3, Kevin, I think it's important to have a look at the 35th place man, Jack Kanaki's livery real quickly, if Ronan can get it for us up on the screen.
Okay, well, while we're doing that, let's have a chat as well about where our placing. Oh, lovely! That is one now that the cultures amongst us will really appreciate. The Peter McCanns of this world will really appreciate a good John Deere livery. Not refined in any way, shape, or form. He's the kind of man who'd probably have a bumper sticker that you wouldn't want your mother-in-law to see. Looking at the grid positions, let me just get you to keep your eye on everything from essentially 8th to pretty much, or 7th pretty much to 11th. You have Ronan Doherty, Jordan Kelly, Jason Smith, and Peter Dempsey all in 2 rows side by side, as Evan does a very early jump, and he's certainly a man that does things a little bit differently to the rest of us. And Evan getting a very early jump before he could even hand over to another Evan, or Ian, should I say, for this race. Dylan McClements, though, getting back on him, and looks like he might make a move into turn 1, Ian.
Thank you, Carl. Fabulous start from Evan Walsh, but Dylan McClements dive down the inside. McClements will lead the opening lap. That is job done for Dylan McClements. Oh no, it's happened again. Round through turn number 2. That's David Maguire involved in it, but I don't think he was the cause of it. And there is a lot of cars gone off there. There's going to be a lot of movers and shakers here at the start. There is loads of drivers losing spots. Sean McGoldrick, Rory O'Shea, Ryan Ware, Ronan Doherty, all involved. Carnage at the first corner.
Yeah, Dave Maguire certainly not the reason why that accident happened, but certainly didn't help to, or what would I say, certainly helped to aggravate it in that instant. Now you can look at the gap there between Evan Walsh and Jordan Kelly. It's absolutely massive, but Jordan has real pace around here, so expect to see that close down. Would love to go back and look at that opening lap instant again. Not sure who was in the middle of it. Perhaps I definitely was kind of in around the 3rd and 4th position. I'm trying to see who it was that's gone down a few places. I know Ronan Doherty's down 3 places to 10th now, so that's had a massive impact. Ryan Ware and Sean McGoldrick both down quite a few places. So Sean is on the right hand side here. Ryan Ware is also on the right hand side of your screen. Dave Maguire going in there. Just not. I missed it again. I think it might be Ryan Ware. Yeah, it looked like there was an incident at the front involving Ryan Ware, and then an incident in the back involving Sean McGoldrick. So I'm not entirely sure. And when I say involve, could very much be the innocent parties. I just want to put that disclaimer on it. But certainly, I think Ryan Ware could be involved in it. So we might have a chance to look at it during maybe a quieter time in the race. But Dylan McClements, Evan, is certainly, we said it was a great opportunity for him to get a race win here in RTA, and he's certainly wasting no time about getting it done.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for Evan Walsh as well. We said tonight he probably had to keep it clean. He has, and now he might even be on for a bit of a podium here. So fabulous opportunity for these two guys to take a strong result. Still really a fabulous battle for third going on, because this is Jason Smith and Jordan Kelly, two drivers with a lot of pedigree and who've proved their place here this evening. Jordan, of course, winning the last heat, and Jason managing to cut through a difficult field. As we look a little bit further back, McClements, the other McClements, I should say, Sean is up to 5th. Hutchings, then it is Emil Duke, Jamal Gandor running in 9th. We haven't seen him up to 9th position in quite a while. The Lebaneseman performing well. And then it is Ronan Doherty in 10th position. This is Brian McManus running around in 12th, and you can see is that him going for a move on Dermot Toomey? It is. Not quite able to get it done, but still in a strong position. It's a bit of a shuffled up grid, but a lot of work to do for the typical 4 runners.
Yeah, it is rather appropriate on the week that the TikTok Taoiseach takes over, that our own TikTok star goes up 11 places into 9th position. Jamal Gandor getting the move done, and here is Jordan Kelly getting a great exit off the second Lesmo, cutting that corner. He talked about the millimeters and the differences it can make. You can see that played out in front of you as they head down into the Ascari chicane. Jordan in the Team Dolan car, leading from the Falcon liveried number 26 car of Jason Smith. It's a superb run there from Jordan, getting the run out of the second Lesmo and making it stick all the way down into the Ascari chicane as they head down towards the Parabolica. Dylan McClements still only 0.8 of a second between himself and Evan Walsh, and will be interesting to see here, because obviously quite a big gap there, 5 seconds almost between Evan and Jordan Kelly. So perhaps if Jordan and Jason work together, they could find themselves scrapping for first or second position as opposed to third. But I suppose that really is up to Jason Smith more than anybody else at the moment to decide whether he now bump drafts Jordan or will he push the inside. And there is your answer.
Yeah, smart from Jason Smith, mind you, because he knows Jordan has good pace. Work together with him, and you might be able to latch on to first and second, and especially for Jason Smith, who's certainly not had as good a season in the GT4s as he had maybe in the Ray Racing machines. Pardon me, apologies, Jason Smith. Well down in the championship compared to where he was maybe this time a few months ago, and you can see still here some battles in the backpack end of Farrell. Involved in this one with Dave Collier, it seems, in towards turn number 1, and that's a car cutting the corner rather obviously, I think. I'm not sure if that was a forced error from Simran Takir, but he has gone across the grass, and at turn number 1 giving it a little bit of a trim while doing so. Simran down to 17th, end of Farrell, now getting the job done on Dave Collier for 15th.
Yeah, this is a lovely battle between these two. I'm sure Simran, that wouldn't quite work for Simran in Ireland at the moment, given the amount of wet weather that's there. I'd say his car would probably bog and the engine would stall. But around northern Italy, it makes it a little bit easier as Dave Collier continuing the hunt in that retro liveried car. You're not allowed to have that sponsor nowadays, but iRacing and Indeed Trading Paints allows you to have anything you like. So kids smoking is not cool, and don't do it. But it is a lovely livery, based on, of course, the old McLaren MP4, the famous car that Ayrton Senna piloted many moons ago. But Jordan Kelly now is in third. And look at that careering in the background is Ronan Doherty. He really probably was hoping that he'd have a superb race, Doherty, but was caught up in that incident very early on and finds himself now with quite a gap to try and make up on the TikTok champion of RTA, Jamal Gandor. And we're looking at Jamal now. He had an unfortunate race last time around, an incident, of course, in turn one. He pretty much was the only one who didn't get through turn one unscathed. But as the racing gods giveth, the racing gods taketh away. And indeed, not just Jamal has profited from that, but the man who lost out in a turn one incident in the last race as well, that being Adam Dowling, is up 23 places to 14th. So funny how it can kind of work for you one race and then work against you in the next.
Yeah, it is. It's the racing gods have a lot to determine from race to race. That's Brian McManus trying to move on Dermot Toomey. He's got a way better exit than the man who was in 11th, now down to 12th. McManus is the man now in 11th, but Toomey might be able to hang this one around the outside. No, not quite. We'll have to have a RTA. Oh, actually, hold that thought. Ryan Ware gets a nudge by Wing Fei Chan in towards the first corner. I thought he was going to spin round there, fully rotate, but he didn't. He caught it well. What I was going to say is we'll have to have an RTA content creators 1v1. Jamal Gandor versus Lawrence de Salzo. I look forward to it.
Yes, absolutely. Fight to the death. No, I mean, sim race, of course, sim race.
Yeah, obviously.
No, definitely, we don't go on that. Simon Hutchins now in 5th position, doing really, really well. Sean McClements holding his spot, but he looks like he might have had a bad exit there, and he's going to leave Alex Milchen back in front of him as well. He looks like he could have an issue here, does Sean. Is it just a slow exit, or is there something mechanically wrong with his Team DDR cars? Peter Duke goes for, or Jamal Gandor, should I say, an alternative line. I think that's fair to say from Jamal. Possibly missing his braking marker, doing well to avoid contact. Seems like Sean McClemens is back up to speed now, so yeah, could have potentially been a corner cut slowdown, which forced him to take his foot off the loud pedal. And of course, slowdowns are something that we see employed in iRacing. Can cause more accidents than they solve sometimes, but in that case, Sean doing a good job of serving it. Here's Evan now on the back of his brother Dylan, 157.7 last time. The quickest around here, 157.4 from Jason Smith. So about 0.3 of a second. Certainly not a big enough gap for Dylan McClemens to worry about. Certainly himself and Evan have a great chance here if they can avoid contact with each other to get some really good placing. And for Dylan, potentially, and I don't want to put the kibosh on him, but for Dylan potentially to get his first win in RTA.
This is a brilliant little scrap for 11th, by the way, between Brian McManus and Dermot Toomey. They're both having a go in towards turn number one every lap, and it's been very clean. But unfortunately, it's the same result as last time. Brian McManus coming out on top. Aaron Dalton gets ahead of Aaron Dowling for 13th position. And mind you, Dylan McClemens and Evan Walsh might be at the front, maybe due to the reverse grid. But Jordan Kelly and Jason Smith are not catching them. They have not caught them by a substantial amount in the 9 minutes that we've ran. That's fair dues to Dylan and Evan because they clearly have a very good pace here in this one. Now, Jordan and Jason might be scrapping with each other, hence why they're not catching. But still, that gap has remained as 5 seconds. I wonder will Jason, maybe Jordan, maybe able to catch up due to it being a longer race, due to them have more experience or anything sort of like that. We'll find out in due course, of course. But this is Simon Hutchins and Alexander Milchen in 5th and 6th for now, also having a very strong performance, as well as Peter Duke in 7th, mind you. Peter doing a stellar job.
Yeah, great work from Peter in 7th, doing a superb job. I wonder, is Evan getting some tips from some of the Italian sheep around here? We saw him obviously at the Galway International Rally, sheep whispering, a couple of weeks ago. So perhaps he's had some inside knowledge from the sheep inside here, but I'm delighted to see Evan up the front. Obviously, does Trojan work for RTA and a really genuinely very nice guy. So I'm delighted to see him running up the front, and hopefully this is the beginning of a good season for him, as we see Jordan Kelly now getting another little bunk from Jason Smith, and these two still trying to work together. But as you say, Evan, the other Evan on track, and Dylan doing a superb job of managing that gap against two guys who you would have expected would have almost half the gap. I would have expected to see almost a 2.5 second gap now, 3 to 2.5 seconds at this point in the race, but it's still at 5.1 seconds and actually climbing, if anything.
Kevin briefly became an old Samsung text notification there for a second. But yeah, I would have thought it would have been about 3 or 4 seconds. Dylan actually pulling a little bit now. He's 1.2 ahead. As you can see, Simon Hutchings losing the spot to Alexander Milchin. And this is Jason Smith just driving behind Jordan Kelly. Jordan might be confusing him for Ronan Doherty maybe in a few minutes' time with the teamwork that's going on. But Jordan and Jason have raced. Look, they've been side by side so many times over the last couple of months in RTA. They know each other well, and they're going to work together to try and get the best result possible. As you can see, just the bump draft once again, Jason obliging with the teamwork.
I do wonder though, Evan, like obviously they're not making a massive amount of ground, and they're both kind of conscious of this. Do you swap at this point? Does Jordan leave Jason take the lead, and perhaps Jason might be a little bit quicker cutting through the grid? It's hard to imagine given the pace that Jordan's had, but they just haven't really been able to make any inroads on Evan or Jordan since we've been racing. Now, Dylan, actually, I think Evan might have made a mistake, because that battle that we saw quite close up the front has now seen Evan drop back to 1.3. So he is almost within the clutches of Jordan Kelly potentially, given the fact that we still have 8 minutes left. But it could have been a mistake from Evan. I think it might have been on the first chicane, because it was around this time last lap. But you can see there now, it's still quite a substantial gap between himself and the Messrs. Kelly and Smith. So at what point, as Jason Smith, do you say, right, well, like, leave me have a go? Let's see if we can get any closer with me at the front.
If I was Jason Smith, I'd probably be having that discussion about now, because it's 12 minutes 20 gone in the race, minus about 1 for the start shenanigans, 11 minutes, and they haven't really caught anything, so it's probably about now. As Adam Dowling very late on the brakes in towards turn 1. No, he's not going to make that corner. No, has to bump over it, and has to hand the position back as well to Aaron Dalton. Didn't take that one fairly to keep it within the confines of the track, and look, it was a good effort, late on the brakes, and he was the only one who lost anything, didn't take out any other drivers. Well worth a go in my book. Alexander Milchin just ahead of Simon Hutchings. But yeah, just quickly to jump back to that Kelly Smith train. Yeah, if I'm Jason Smith, I'm looking for a turn at the front here. See, can he do anything different? I wonder, would it even be better if they just slipstreamed each other rather than bump drafting, maybe swap and change? Once again, it's a Tour de France reference. One goes in front, the others follow, then he drops to the back for a bit, so on so forth. Because they got to do something if they want to try win this race, because how it stands, they're not even going to get close to it.
Yeah, and it's a golden opportunity for both of them, given the fact that Ronan got caught up in that incident, and obviously Jordan and Ronan seem to be the front runners in this championship thus far. David Maguire was certainly came into the race's championship leader, but he obviously earlier instance in this race, an incident in all 3 races, to be honest. So we'll have to see what the stewards have to make about that, because obviously consistent incidents are not viewed with much what would I say, much fancy, much humor amongst the stewards in RTA. So we'll have to see where that leaves him come the end of tonight's proceedings. But yeah, so great opportunity for Jordan and Jason to potentially kind of start to widen out the gap at the top of the championship. But I mean, Evan is slowly getting back on Dylan. The gap was around 1.5 seconds. It's now down to a second flat, but with only 5 minutes left, it would take a substantial effort. I mean, you're talking about 2 or 3 tenths a lap from here till the end, or not even more. Sorry, it should be about 5 tenths a lap, given how long the laps are. Maybe, or whatever, 0.3 tenths of a lap, or whatever it is. So it should be interesting to see, can Evan make that gap up, or can Jordan tried to push it. I just can't see the top four changing the way things stand.
No, me neither. I can't see it either. Evan Watch was briefly catching up to Dylan McClements there on that lap, but he's lost that time again and even more. So Dylan McClements in a very comfortable position. And look, I've said it probably maybe one too many times, Dylan is a wise head on young shoulders. He has, well, the maturity now at this stage to win or to lead home a race from this point, and I'd have enough confidence in him to do so. This is Peter Duke, who you can see in 7th position, running his best RTA race to date in the 3rd heat here at Monza. Right behind Simon Hutchings. If he was able to take that position, that would be, well, it's still a job well done, but if he was able to take that position, it would be even more. And this is Alexander Milchan, who we are on board with. Looking back at Simon Hutchings, I think we've seen a fairly close battle for 5th in every heat today, so that trend continues here with Milchan against Hutchings, two drivers who might be down the field a little bit more, but a great chance for good points here. So they've got to try and maximise it. Hutchings going to do so, tucks into the slipstream down towards the first corner.
Yeah, this is one of the things, I suppose, with the opening lap instance. It does open the door for those drivers who wouldn't otherwise be in that position to all of a sudden kind of skip around the accidents, take your 1x, and then carry on, quite happy in the knowledge that you're not being involved in those instances. Simon Hutchins just about holds off Alex Milchan, who gets a bad exit there. Now, I'm not sure was that caused by Peter Duke or not, but a slower exit there from Milchan, which allows now the number 77 car to get a chance at having a go now through the Retrofilio chicane. Of course, Milchan has a gap, enough of a gap to hold off. Peter's alongside. It is front wheel to back wheel, so he is entitled to the corner as per the RTA rules. And the two of them go side by side. A little bit of a bump, but really hard, really, to put too much blame on Alex Milchan there, just trying to exit the corner, and unfortunately, Peter couldn't hang around the outside. But the upshot of that is that he goes from 7th down to 9th because Sean McClements and Jamal Gondor slipped themselves in the inside, and now it would be Sean's turn to have a go off Alex Milchan. It's a bit like winner stays on, isn't it? Like, you have a go, so unfortunately Peter got knocked out. Now it's Sean's turn to have a go.
It is, yeah, and Jamal Gondor sneaking through well. He's recovered well from that little bit of an off-track moment through this chicane coming up. Sean McClements as well. Look at a fight back through. He was caught up in some of the earlier incidents in the early races, but working his way back up closer towards the top 5. And then Alexander Milchan, a bit of an underrated driver maybe in terms of the championship, doing quite well in 9th in the championship. He's going to extend that here this evening, as this is Adam Dowling and Dermot Toomey battling side by side. There'll be Toomey on the inside, Dowling on the outside. Outside becomes inside, and then it swaps back round once again, but Adam Dowling will stay ahead nonetheless, and he's up to 13th. He has drove well since that incident in the 2nd heat. He has managed to pick himself up and keep making the moves as Brian McManus and Dermot Toomey continue their fight that we saw earlier on this evening. As we have 2 minutes to go now, Kevin, it's looking like it could be the evening for Dylan McClements, but that might be disastrous, what I'm after just saying.
Yeah, let's hope he didn't put the jinx on him, as we see now Jason getting ahead of Evan Watto, or Jordan Kelly, should I say. So we talked about that swap, Jason finally making it done. It's a bit late in the game, I have to say. I'm not sure was that planned or not. Here is the move from Jason. I think it might just be a mistake from Jordan. Is it going into the parabolica? Jordan running wide, that opening the door for Jason, and he has to slip down the inside. And it's an interesting one. I really wonder, perhaps that swap could have been manufactured earlier to give themselves an opportunity at it, but in either case, it is now Jason Smith who eventually gets ahead of Jordan Kelly, and Jordan Evan will be disappointed by this. It was a great opportunity for him with other accidents happening in front to make a huge difference. Now, I know he did get caught up, but I suspect when Jordan saw that gap with Evan Walsh in front, he probably fancied perhaps a chance of at least putting Evan under a bit of pressure coming into the last laps, but the gap is absolutely enormous, and Jordan finds himself in 4th in a race that he probably could have been pushing for 1st.
Yeah, he'll be a bit disappointed, but I think maybe in the long run he won't be too disappointed, as he is still picking up points against Ronan Doherty and Dave Maguire. Big points at that. Ronan in 10th and Dave not even on the leaderboard as it stands. will lose a few points to Jason Smith, but as we said, Jason not really in the title fight so far yet today. But as we go on to the final lap, it's side by side between Peter Duke and Brian McManus. I think Jordan Kelly might fancy himself for a move on Jason Smith as well, as they get side by side and towards the first corner. Here comes Kelly on the outside, Smith in the blue on the inside, and you can see Jordan Kelly, yes, does get back ahead. Jason Smith only managed to sneak onto the podium for about a lap, Kevin, as he's back ahead.
Yeah, here's Ronan Doherty battling with Peter Duke, and it's a little bit untidy there, but Peter ceding to the championship candidate, I suppose, in thinking the better of sticking himself in the middle of that as Aaron Dalton goes for a move down the inside of Sean McGoldrick. Now Sean caught up in a very early instant in this race at this very turn, and Aaron going heavy on the brakes. Sean doing really nice to slip back to try and get the inside line, but unfortunately that then turns into a left-hander. So whatever over and back you have, you lose going into the next corner, and Aaron ends up making the move stick. Here is Jordan and Jason getting a bit squirrely on the exit there. Lesmo just pushing a little bit too much. That will be a 1x, but not enough, obviously, to cause any issue here. I think it's 16x before you start getting your drive-through penalties, so nobody should really be touching that in a track like this with only 8 corners, as Alex Mielchin now trying to move on Simon Hutchings, certainly letting him know that he's there as we tick past the 20-minute marker, and as we suspect that means we are on the final lap, and we're looking here at Dylan McClements. And for 13-year-old Dylan McClements, what an achievement after what's been a real battling day, Evan. It looks like he's finally going to get his first win.
Yes, he came close last season in Donington, had a few good moments last week in Hockenheim, but Dylan McClements finally can crown himself an RTA race winner. Excellent job from Dylan. He was composed at the front and managed to see it home. It'll be Jordan Kelly who comes ahead of Jason Smith, Simon Hutchings in the background. Hutchings just about beating Mielchin to the end. It'll be McClements, Jamal Gandor with a very impressive result in 8th, Ronan Doherty 9th, and Peter Duke in 10th position. But what a great day for Dylan McClements. I think he'll remember this one fondly.
Yeah, absolutely, and very well deserved, I think, as well for Dylan, as the Aaron Dalton and Sean McGoldrick banging doors, and there is in the background Dave Collier firing himself into the parabolica, trying to give himself every opportunity to take a leg stake for 13th position, or 14th position, should I say. But yeah, absolutely superb stuff from Dylan McClements. He'd obviously been through the wars today in different instances and the like, and he was very quick in the single-seaters, the 1600s, and has shown pace here as well without ever being able to get quite over the line. But really that turn 1 instant, given coupled with his positioning, it was well called from by you, in fairness, Evan. As they went to the grid, you said he's in 3rd position, he's a great opportunity here. Could we see Dylan with his first ever race win? And to be fair to Dylan, he made it happen. So congratulations to him, and indeed to Evan Walsh, who is in the interview room, I believe. So it'd be good to chat to will we chat to Dylan first, or I suppose we chat to Dylan first. He's the man of the moment. So can we get Dylan in the commentary booth, please?
I like how eager they all are to do interviews. The race hasn't even finished for some, but yeah, fabulous result. And here is Dylan McClements, Kevin.
Dylan McClements, am I right in saying, okay, 2 questions. Am I right in saying this is your first win in RTA, and how do you feel?
Yeah, my first win. It's something different. Like, it's my first win of this series. I'm obviously in RTA, but I'll not be surprised if there's much more to come.
Was there a fist pump? Was there a scream? How did you celebrate as you crossed the line? We saw wiggles, we saw flashing of lights. I mean, it's been a tricky night for you. You've been involved in different incidents, but you must be absolutely thrilled to finally get your name on the board.
Yeah, I mean, well, that incident in race 2, it put me higher up in the grid for the 3rd race, but obviously it didn't push me for points that type of way, and just got quite lucky with everyone being put down a bit at the last race there.
Can I bring you back to the end of race 1? And just, I suppose we could try and get you to be as honest as you can without maybe, but whilst also being careful. But we saw a strange incident where yourself and Dave Maguire came together after the line. Was there a build up to that, or can you kind of talk us through it from your perspective?
I mean, well, we didn't have any incident before that type of way, but I don't know what happened there. It was a strange one, but I don't know. It's just one of them incidents. It's just like you question what's that for, you know?
Yeah, I suppose it's up to the up. We look up, have a look back in it, but from yourself, as you say, it's a sign of things to come. And like we talked about, you've been in here a few times, you've been on the podium a few times, but just to get over that line, that's a real line in the sand, isn't it, for you to try to say, okay, well, I've done it now. I've won one race. Like you often see, when you win one, it gives you the confidence to go on and win more.
Yeah, well, hopefully I'll be winning a few more races than how long it's took me to get now, but I've been putting in the practice a lot in this Aston Martin. I'm quite got used to it, and I've been up the top compared to Brands Hatch where I was in the midfield, and now I've won a race.
Absolutely, and very well deserved. You talked about that wait. I can tell you there's fellas on that grid that have been waiting their entire careers to try and get a win in this thing. So savor it, Dylan. A superb achievement. Congratulations. Your first ever race win in RTA. Very, very well deserved, and looking forward to chatting to you potentially next week.
All right, thank you.
Brilliant stuff from Dylan. He says there's more to come, Evan, as we
Love
talk to your fellow namesake.
I love that confidence from Dylan McClemens. Excellent to hear. But another man with a very impressive result here this evening, and dare I say the best first name of all time. It is Evan Walsh. Evan, P2 there in the final race. Are you happy with that one?
Oh, I'm absolutely delighted with that now. I definitely wasn't expecting it. I had to try to be a bit creative with the start to try and get a bit of a gap. But yeah, no, absolutely delighted with that now.
Are you happy with how the whole evening went? Of course, we saw a lot of chaos in the mid pack. You managed to avoid some of it and pick yourself up some good points. Overall, are you happy with how Monza went?
Yeah, very happy, especially after last week. Now I had a bad showing because I've been out of the ring now for a little while, so I'm just getting back into it again. But no, absolutely delighted with that. Got caught up in a few little incidents in the first couple of races, but I came out the other side of it fairly well. I know a lot of other lads got tangled up and stuff behind, so no, I'm absolutely delighted with that now.
And another iconic track next week, of course, Spa-Francorchamps. Do you look forward to that one? Is it a track you find yourself quick at?
And I wouldn't be a major fan of Spa. It's I don't mind it. I'll see how testing goes on Monday, but if I can just keep my nose clean, I suppose that's the biggest part of it. And especially with these big grids, it's definitely all about staying clean, really, and just trying to pull a gap, I suppose.
And one final question. Kevin quoted during, I think this is the quote, it's probably not exact, but you might have made friends with the nearby neighbouring sheep during the arrival at the circuit. Did that help you to a good result here this evening?
The nearby, I don't even know what he means by that now, to be honest with you.
If I mentioned a
Oh
rally,
God, sorry. Yes, no, I remember. I was like, "There's no sheep at Monza, what?" Sheep
We
love
were
me.
hoping
All
that your
sheep love me.
I was going to say, I was hoping that their Italian counterparts might have some advice for you coming up to
No,
Monza.
No,
yeah,
no
sorry,
advice,
Kevin,
no
put you
advice
on
from the
it.
sheep. I didn't get a chance to meet any of them. No, unfortunately. Maybe they'll be out after the race, and we get to have a chat with them.
Well, Evan, thank you very much for joining us. Greatly appreciate that one. And yeah, best of luck next week. We hope we get to chat to you again.
Cheers, thank you.
Now, Kevin, I think we have a returning favourite to the interview room. It is going to be Jordan Kelly, who we bring back. I had no idea how to bring up the Italian sheep there, Kevin, as you might
Yeah,
well
I was
tell, but
hoping you would, though. I was hoping you
felt
would.
it was needed.
Official RTA sheep whisperer, Evan Walsh. Jordan, I'm going to keep it quick because you're essentially a co-host at this point. The amount of times you've been in here, you're just yourself and Jason, I suppose. Like you were when I saw the gap, and obviously you were caught up in that incident early on. I suppose. Look, first of all, you're kind of the only one that's been in the commentary booth that saw it from the windscreen as opposed to the back windscreen. What happened? How did it look like there were two separate incidents that kind of happened, or what? What kind of how did it all go down?
Yeah, I think Ronan spun Sean McGoldrick, I think, and that incident was kind of separate. It wasn't causing too much bother, but then the incident in front where Rory got spun, that's where like two cars were pushing him along, and it just created a complete roadblock. Me and Jason got through it in a way, but we had serious damage after. It was like complete second down every lap, like, so it was just a matter of him trying to stay behind me, pushing me as much as he could to keep the gap behind, like, because it was coming down at a point, and we probably shouldn't have been where we were at the end, but no, we kept it nice and clean, and had a nice wee last lap battle too. So that was always good.
Well, that's always nice when you come out on top of the battles. You actually answered my second question. I was going to say, like, we were expecting you to make up the pace, and then you didn't, and then we thought that Jason might slip ahead of you to try and see if he could make the running, and he didn't. So we were trying to figure out why you weren't kind of changing something to make it happen. But as you say, there was so much
Yeah.
damage there that it was very difficult. Yeah, you could see there. Actually, we can actually see
Crazy.
Jason literally rear-ending you there at speed. So both of you
Had to
were.
go.
Yeah, unfortunately, both. But actually, in a funny way, kind of pushed you through the accident. So, in a
Oh
funny
yeah,
way, he actually kind of got you
yeah.
through it.
It
But yeah,
could
it
have
was.
been.
It could have been worse. You obviously you were leading from the front these two races. I suppose. Look, you're kind of. Are we glad to see Monza at the back of us? There seemed to be a lot of incidents, particularly turn 1 and 2 of the races. So perhaps Spa gives us a bit better running. And how do you feel going into Spa? Is it a track you like?
Yeah, I haven't raced Spa in a long time now. I think it was the last time we raced way RTA. That was the last time. But apart from that, I do like Spa. So it should be a good enough track, but it'll be very close at at the front of the grid, and should be a good battle again. Hopefully can get another a nice bit of points from it, and keep the nose clean.
Hopefully, indeed. Jordan, thanks again. No doubt we'll be speaking to you. We probably have to put you on a contract at this point, I think, if you're in this with us anymore. So we might have to limit the interviews purely based on the fact that we can't afford to have yet another person in the commentary booth. But Jordan, thanks for joining us. And look, best of luck with the testing over the week, and talk to you in Belgium.
Will do, Kevin. Appreciate it. Chat to you soon.
So yeah, that wraps us up, Evan. It's another week of thrills and spills here in the RTA GT4 Cup. Thanks to TH Jordan again for their sponsorship for that one. But again, look, some super racing. But once again, we have to first of all pick a driver of the day, and second of all, I suppose, kind of look back over again and what's going to be a busy night for the stewards.
Yes, we do. Driver of the day. I was having a bit of a think about this in the interviews. This is a difficult one, Kevin, because usually we have someone who wins 2 races. We didn't have that here this evening. I think there's a lot of drivers who could deserve a good nomination. I don't know if there's anyone who takes your fancy straight off the.
I think I wouldn't say there's anybody that takes my fancy straight off the bat, but I just think for a 13-year-old to, be only racing and iRacing properly for a couple of months, and to beat the kind of standard that we have here in RTA, um, I think it's really hard not to, on the occasion of his first ever RTA race win at the very tender age of 13, give it to Dylan McClemens. I think that would be my choice, but I'm open to other suggestions.
No, I think I'm going to have to agree with that one.
Right. Well, that was easy.
He had a good race one as well, which I don't think we need to justify it, but yeah, I agree with you. Dylan McClemens, very good performance in heat number 3, and a well-earned driver today, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Great drive from Dylan. And just back on that, before we finish off, I suppose another busy night for the stewards. So just to alert the people that what it finishes on track, they're only provisional race standings, so things could all change going into the final European round. And indeed, my final round commentating before I leave these shores, which is kind of mad to say.
Yeah, it's going to be an emotional one next week, folks. So please bring some soft tissues for the tears. No, but I'm not going to say we look forward to seeing the back of Kevin, but we look forward to hearing him once more next week. Maybe some people are looking forward to seeing the back of Kevin. I don't know. I'm not one to judge, but
Might be a few
Yeah,
people on the
for him.
grid, I'd say, are looking forward to seeing
Yeah.
the back of me. But anyway, that's a different story
And
for
they're
a
only
different day.
wishing I'm gone too. But we had a great race in Monza. I'll certainly be bragging the fact that I almost called Dylan's first win, but it was a great first win for him. The stewards have a lot of work to do. Remember, if you want to view any of the incidents, you can on RTA Virtual Motorsport. .com, a fabulous new website up there, folks. If you haven't gone and looked at it purely out of interest, please go do that as soon as we finish here. It's a fabulous job. And yeah, the incidents will be sorted. The drivers will be getting the testing in around Spa-Francorchamps, or as Evan Walsh might say, Spa. And we have a brilliant week. Hopefully next week, Kevin's final round with us. Well, at least for now, I imagine he'll be back. And I tell you what, I look forward to it.
Yeah. Now, all of the motorsport world was talking about an incident involving a young Irish driver in Albert Park, that being one Alex Dunn, who once again kind of performed out of his skin and is representing our country on one of the biggest international motorsport stages. I remember calling some of Alex Dunn's races before, and Evan, it's only when you just said that there, it made me think, remember the name. Dylan McClements. You might very well see it in the future. But until next week, at Spa-Francorchamps, for my final time, at least for the moment, before I go travel, have a good week. Slán go fóill.